Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg, or lightning war, is a military strategy that was developed by Germany and used with devastating effect in the early phases of World War II. The essence of Blitzkrieg is speed and surprise, leveraging swift movements and powerful attacks to overwhelm an enemy before they can effectively respond. This strategy uses a coordinated effort involving tanks, panzers, mechanized infantry, and air support. The tanks break through enemy lines, often at weak points, while the infantry secures the areas behind the tanks. Air support is crucial, used to strike deep behind enemy lines, targeting supply routes, communication centers, and reinforcements, all aimed at causing chaos and disarray. Blitzkrieg is not just a battle tactic but a way of waging war that seeks to avoid the prolonged battles of attrition that characterized much of World War I. Instead, it aims to achieve a quick and decisive victory that minimizes prolonged conflict and conserves resources. The successful application of Blitzkrieg tactics requires high mobility, effective communication, and precise coordination among all arms of the military, making it a complex but highly effective strategy when executed correctly. Trench warfare. Trench warfare became emblematic of World War I, an infamous strategy for its grueling and static nature. This method of warfare involves digging long, deep trenches as defensive positions, from which soldiers can fight while enjoying substantial protection from the enemy's small arms fire and artillery. The trenches are typically parallel to the enemy's, with no man's land in between, a dangerous territory filled with barbed wire and mines. The strategy leads to prolonged stalemates, as both sides are well protected and direct assaults usually result in heavy casualties. Life in the trenches was harsh and hazardous, characterized by mud, pests, and the constant threat of enemy fire. Trench warfare symbolizes the futility and indiscriminate slaughter of war, as the massive loss of life often resulted in minimal territorial gains. It highlighted the need for new tactics and technologies that could break the deadlock and led to innovations in weaponry and tactics in subsequent years.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Attrition warfare. Attrition warfare is a strategy aimed at wearing down an opponent to the point of collapse through continuous losses in personnel and material. The basic premise is simple: exhaust the enemy through sustained pressure and losses until their ability to continue fighting is compromised. This form of warfare often emerges when both warring parties are evenly matched and where tactical or strategic breakthroughs are difficult to achieve. It can be a deliberate choice or a strategy of necessity, particularly in prolonged conflicts where victory cannot be easily or quickly secured. Attrition warfare tests the economic and productive capacities of the belligerents, as well as the morale and resilience of their populations. It often results in high casualties and significant economic drain, reflecting a brutal calculation that the side with more resources and greater resilience will ultimately claim victory. Historically, this strategy has been criticized for its high human cost and is seen as reflective of a lack of innovative tactics or technology. Maneuver warfare. Maneuver warfare is a dynamic and flexible military strategy that focuses on defeating the enemy by incapacitating their decision-making through shock and disruption, rather than engaging in head-to-head battles. This approach aims to exploit the fluidity of the battlefield, moving quickly to seize key objectives and utilize surprise and speed to outmaneuver and overwhelm the enemy. It requires a high degree of adaptability and real-time intelligence, allowing forces to respond to changes in the battlefield swiftly. The goal is to unbalance the enemy by making them react to your actions, thereby seizing the initiative and retaining it. Effective maneuver warfare demands well-trained forces capable of executing rapid and coordinated movements, as well as commanders with a deep understanding of both their own capabilities and the enemy's vulnerabilities. This strategy has been favored in modern military doctrines for its efficiency and ability to achieve decisive results with potentially lower costs in terms of lives and material. Guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare involves small, often informally organized groups of combatants using military tactics, including ambushes, sabotage, raids, and hit-and-run tactics, to fight a larger, traditionally organized enemy. Guerrilla fighters typically use the terrain to their advantage, executing quick strikes from concealed positions and then disappearing into the environment, be it urban or rural. This form of warfare is characterized by its asymmetry, typically employed by a weaker force against a stronger, more conventionally equipped enemy. The strength of guerrilla warfare lies in its flexibility and the difficulty opponents face in effectively countering these unpredictable, rapid attacks. It often relies heavily on the support or acquiescence of the local population, both for recruits and logistical support. Historically, guerrilla warfare has been a tool of resistance against occupying forces or oppressive governments, making it as much a political instrument as a military strategy. Siege warfare. Siege warfare is a method of war used since ancient times, involving the surrounding and blockading of an enemy town or fortress in the hope of making it surrender without a direct assault. This strategy relies on cutting off all essential supplies and continuously bombarding the fortified position, thereby weakening the defenders both physically and psychologically. The besieging force typically builds encirclements and fortifications to isolate the target and uses artillery and other siege engines to breach walls and structures. Historically, sieges could last from weeks to years, requiring immense patience and resources. The objective is not just to capture the place but to do so with as little loss to the attacking force as possible. Siege warfare tests the endurance of both the besieger and the besieged, often involving tactics of starvation, psychological warfare, and sporadic assaults to wear down resistance. In modern times, siege tactics have evolved but still reflect the fundamental principles of isolating and exerting pressure on a target to force its surrender. Shock and awe, rapid dominance. Shock and awe, also known as rapid dominance, is a military concept aimed at overwhelming an adversary quickly and decisively. The idea is to use superior power, spectacular displays of force, and strategic precision to paralyze an enemy's perception and will to fight. This strategy intends to create a psychological impact that disorients and demoralizes the enemy, making them unable to respond effectively at both tactical and strategic levels. Rapid dominance involves the integrated use of advanced technology, mobility, and all elements of national power to dominate the adversary completely and swiftly. It is not merely about destroying physical targets but also about breaking the enemy's spirit. The effectiveness of this strategy relies on speed, precision, and the element of surprise, aiming to achieve military objectives in the shortest time possible while minimizing casualties and economic costs. Shock and awe seeks to control the pace and context of the conflict and force a quick resolution favorable to the initiator. Air warfare strategy. Air warfare strategy encompasses the use of military aircraft to achieve dominance over an opponent, primarily through the destruction of strategic targets from the air, achieving air superiority, and providing support to ground troops. This form of warfare plays a critical role in modern combat, offering the capabilities of rapid deployment, high mobility, and the ability to deliver a wide range of weaponry. The main objectives include destroying the enemy's air defenses, establishing control over the airspace, and disrupting supply lines and communication networks. Air warfare allows for precise strikes on critical infrastructure, such as command centers, economic assets, and logistics hubs, which can cripple the enemy's operational capabilities. Additionally, air power is crucial for reconnaissance, providing valuable intelligence and real-time data to ground forces. Achieving and maintaining air superiority enables a country to protect its forces and territories while restricting the enemy's operational freedom, thereby playing a decisive role in the outcome of conflicts. Naval warfare strategy. Naval warfare strategy involves the deployment and maneuvering of naval forces to achieve dominance over sea areas, disrupt enemy shipping lines, and protect national interests on the high seas. This strategy is crucial for countries with significant maritime interests. The primary tactics in naval warfare include blockading enemy ports to choke off supply lines, engaging enemy naval forces, and projecting power ashore through naval gunfire and amphibious operations. Modern naval strategy also incorporates the use of submarines for stealth attacks and surveillance, aircraft carriers to extend air power over vast ocean areas, and the deployment of marine forces for rapid response to coastal threats. Naval power is essential not just for its direct military impact but also for its ability to influence international trade and maintain global stability. Dominance at sea allows a nation to protect its commercial interests, ensure the security of maritime trade routes, and respond to international crises swiftly. Joint operations. Joint operations involve the coordinated efforts of multiple branches of the military, such as the Army, Navy, and Air Force, working together to achieve strategic objectives. This approach is critical in modern warfare where the complexity and scale of operations often require integrated actions across different environments. Joint operations are designed to capitalize on the unique strengths and capabilities of each service branch, creating a synergistic effect that enhances the overall combat effectiveness. Coordination and cooperation among the branches ensure that air, land, and sea operations reinforce each other, maximizing the impact of military actions. This strategy requires sophisticated communication and logistics, as well as a unified command structure that can oversee and direct the diverse elements of military power. Successful joint operations lead to more efficient use of resources, greater adaptability on the battlefield, and a higher probability of achieving strategic goals effectively. Fabian Strategy. The Fabian Strategy is named after the Roman general Fabius Maximus, known for his tactical approach of harassment and attrition rather than head-on battles. This strategy involves avoiding direct confrontation with a stronger enemy, instead focusing on wearing them down through a series of small skirmishes, delaying actions, and tactical retreats. The objective is to frustrate and exhaust the enemy while avoiding significant engagements that could lead to heavy losses. This approach is particularly effective when the weaker party aims to prolong the conflict, hoping that the enemy's resolve will weaken over time or that they will make strategic mistakes. The Fabian strategy relies on mobility, knowledge of terrain, and the ability to strike at the enemy's vulnerabilities without getting drawn into decisive battles. It is a form of guerrilla warfare applied in a larger strategic context, often used by forces that lack the numerical strength or resources to directly confront a more powerful foe. Scorched Earth. The Scorched Earth policy is a defensive military strategy used throughout history, involving the deliberate destruction of resources, infrastructure, and anything else that might be useful to the enemy while retreating from an advancing force. This strategy is employed to deny the enemy resources and make their advance more difficult by burning crops, demolishing buildings, and contaminating water supplies. While effective in slowing or halting enemy forces, it is also a strategy of last resort due to the severe impact it has on the civilian population and the natural environment. Scorched earth tactics can lead to long-term economic difficulties and environmental damage, making it controversial. The goal is to create a situation where the cost of advancing becomes too high for the enemy, both in terms of logistics and morale. This strategy can be seen as a form of passive resistance, where the defending force inflicts damage indirectly by making the captured areas as inhospitable and resource-poor as possible, thus indirectly weakening the enemy's ability to maintain their occupation or continue their advance.